He buys a farm for $1, then discovers a secret sexy girl inside. Ethan had never believed in luck. He believed in hard work, in saving money, and in making smart choices. He worked long hours in a small office in the city where the air always smelled like coffee and paper. Every day looked the same. He woke up early, sat in traffic, worked late, and returned home exhausted. The city was loud, crowded, and never quiet. Even when he tried to relax, his mind would not stop. It always searched for something more, something different. One evening, after a long day, Ethan sat alone in his small apartment and stared at his computer screen. His friends were out having fun, but he felt like he didn't belong. He opened a real estate website just to see what was happening in other parts of the country. He didn't expect to find anything interesting. Then he saw a listing that made him stop. It was a farm for sale. Not a small farm, but a real one, fields, old buildings, a barn, and a house. The price was written in bold letters, and Ethan had to read it twice to make sure he wasn't mistaken. It said, $1. $1. He couldn't believe it. He clicked on the listing and read the description. The farm was old and needed work. The previous owner had passed away, and the land had been left empty for years. The county had taken over the property, and they just wanted it gone. That was why they were selling it for almost nothing. The listing warned that the buildings were in poor condition and that the land would need a lot of cleaning. But the price was unbelievable. Ethan felt a strange feeling inside him. It was a mix of excitement and fear. He had always dreamed of leaving the city and living somewhere peaceful. He imagined waking up to birds singing instead of car horns. He imagined planting vegetables, raising chickens, and feeling the sun on his face. But he also knew the reality. A farm required hard work, money, and time. It wasn't a movie, it was real life. Still, the idea would not leave his mind. He read the listing again and again. He looked at the pictures. The buildings looked old and worn, but the land looked wide and open. There was something peaceful about the empty fields. He imagined himself walking through them, feeling free. The next morning, Ethan called the number on the listing. The person on the phone sounded tired and busy. They explained that the farm was being sold as is, meaning Ethan would take it exactly as it was. No repairs, no help, no promises. Ethan asked questions about the property, about water, electricity, and whether anyone still lived there. The person said the place had been empty for a long time. No one lived there now. Ethan's heart beat faster. He didn't want to be foolish, but he also didn't want to miss a chance. He asked if he could see the farm in person. The person agreed and gave him the address. They said he should come on a weekday when no one else was there. Ethan thanked them and hung up. That day, Ethan couldn't focus at work. He kept thinking about the farm. He tried to imagine what it would be like to stand in the middle of a field and feel the wind on his face. He thought about how different his life would be. He imagined waking up early and working outside. He imagined feeling tired but satisfied at the end of the day. His friends noticed he was distracted. They asked him what was wrong. Ethan tried to explain, but it sounded strange. "I found a farm for $1, he said. They laughed. They thought it was a joke. They told him to be careful and not to waste his money on a scam, but Ethan felt something deep inside him that said this could be real. That evening, he packed a small bag and prepared for the trip. He drove for hours, leaving the city behind. The buildings became fewer and the roads became quieter. The air smelled different. It smelled like trees and earth. Ethan felt a calmness he hadn't felt in a long time. The city felt far away. When he arrived at the farm, he parked his car on the side of a long dirt road. The sun was low in the sky and the light looked warm and soft. He walked toward the property and felt his heart beating faster. The farm looked even older in person. The house was small and worn. The barn looked like it had been through many storms. The fields were overgrown with tall grass and weeds. Ethan stood in the middle of the yard and looked around. The silence was strange. No cars, no voices, no sounds of people, just wind and birds. It was quiet in a way that made him feel both peaceful and uneasy. He had never been in a place like this before. It felt like stepping into another world. He walked toward the house. The door was closed but not locked. He pushed it open and stepped inside. Dust floated in the air like tiny pieces of light. The inside was dark and empty. Old furniture lay covered in sheets. The floor creaked under his feet. Ethan walked slowly, careful not to step on anything broken. He opened the windows and let the air inside. The smell of old wood filled his nose. It was not a bad smell, but it was strange. It smelled like time. Ethan imagined the people who had lived here before. He wondered what their lives had been like. He wondered why the house had been left empty. He walked through each room, looking carefully. The house was small but had potential. The walls were cracked and the paint was peeling. The kitchen was old, but the sink still worked. The bedroom had a small window that looked out over the field. Ethan stood in the bedroom and imagined waking up there. He imagined the morning sun coming through the window. He imagined drinking coffee on the porch while the world woke up. Then he heard a sound. It was soft at first, like a distant whisper. He stopped and listened. The sound came again. It was not a voice. It was something else. It sounded like a door moving or something shifting inside the house. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He turned and looked around. The house was empty. He told himself it was just the wind. Old houses made strange noises. He tried to calm himself. He walked toward the back of the house and checked the doors. Everything was closed. He opened the back door and stepped outside. The air felt cool. He looked around the yard. Nothing, just empty space. He felt a strange chill, but he told himself it was only his imagination. Ethan returned to the house and continued exploring. He found a small basement door in the corner of the kitchen. It was hidden behind a cabinet. He had not noticed it before. The door was old and covered in dust. It looked like it had not been opened in years. He hesitated. He thought about the stories he had heard about abandoned places. He thought about the possibility of danger. But his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He took a deep breath and opened the door. The stairs led down into darkness. The air below was cooler and smelled like earth. Ethan switched on his flashlight and slowly walked down. The steps creaked under his weight. He reached the bottom and found a small basement room. It was empty except for a few old boxes and broken shelves. Ethan shined his flashlight around. The walls were made of stone. The floor was covered in dust. He felt a strange sense of being watched, even though he was alone. He shook his head and tried to laugh it off. "Just an old house," he said to himself. "Nothing more." He turned to go back upstairs, but then he noticed something. On the far wall, there was a small door. It was not like the others. It looked newer. It had a modern handle and a lock. It did not belong in a basement that old. Ethan's curiosity grew again. He approached the door and felt his hands tremble slightly. He placed his hand on the handle and turned it. The lock clicked open easily. It was unlocked. Ethan opened the door and stepped inside. The room was not what he expected. It was clean and bright. It looked modern. There was a small bed, a table, and a chair. The walls were painted white. The floor was covered with a clean rug. There was a small lamp on the table. The air smelled like soap and perfume. Ethan felt his mind go blank for a moment. He had expected a dusty old room, not this. He walked inside and looked around. Everything was arranged neatly, as if someone had been living there recently. There were clean towels folded on the bed. A bottle of water sat on the table. A notebook lay open with writing in it. Ethan picked it up and read a few lines. The writing was in neat handwriting. It talked about the farm, the weather, and the days passing. The notebook looked like a diary. Ethan felt a strange mix of excitement and fear. Someone had been here, someone had been hiding. He looked around the room more carefully. There were personal items, a small mirror, a hairbrush, a toothbrush. A few pieces of clothing were folded neatly in a corner. Ethan felt his heart beat faster. He realized this was not just a hidden room. It was someone's secret home. He felt a sudden urge to leave, but he also felt the need to know more. He sat down on the edge of the bed and tried to understand what he was seeing. He had come here to buy a farm, but he had found something else, something unexpected. He wondered who had been living here. Why had they hidden? Why had they chosen this farm? He felt a strange connection to the place. It was as if the farm was not empty after all. It had a secret life. Ethan stood up and looked at the door again. He thought about going back upstairs and leaving. He thought about calling someone, but he felt something inside him that said he should stay and learn more. He walked back to the table and opened the notebook again. He read more. The writing talked about fear and hope. It talked about feeling safe in the hidden room. It talked about being alone and wanting to stay hidden. Ethan's mind filled with questions. He felt a strong desire to find the person who wrote these words. He wanted to know their story. He wanted to help if they needed help. He put the notebook down and stood still. He listened. The house was quiet again, but this time the quiet felt different. It felt like a secret waiting to be revealed. Ethan took a deep breath and slowly walked back up the stairs. He closed the basement door behind him. He felt the weight of the secret room on his mind. He walked back through the house, opening and closing doors, checking the windows, trying to understand what he had found. When he stepped outside, the sun was lower in the sky. The light was soft. The farm looked peaceful again, but Ethan knew it was not empty. It had a secret. Someone had been living there in hiding. Someone had chosen this place for safety. Ethan stood in the yard and looked at the house. He thought about the $1 price. He thought about how this farm had been left empty for years, yet someone had found a way to live here in secret. He wondered if the farm was meant for him. He wondered if he had been brought here for a reason. He felt a strange feeling of destiny. He did not believe in fate, but he could not deny the strange events that had happened. He had come to see a farm and found a secret room. He had found a hidden life. Ethan decided to stay one more night. He would sleep in his car and return in the morning. He needed time to think. He needed to understand what he had discovered. As he sat in his car, he looked at the dark silhouette of the house. The farm was quiet, but Ethan's mind was loud. He felt both excited and afraid. He knew his life was about to change, but he did not know how. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep. He imagined the farm, the fields, and the secret room. He imagined the person who had lived there. He imagined meeting them. The night passed slowly. Ethan woke up early before the sun. He felt a strange energy inside him. He knew he would return to the farm. He knew he would search for answers. He started his car and drove back to the city, but his mind stayed at the farm. He thought about the hidden room and the diary. He thought about the person who had written those words. He thought about the possibility of a new life. Ethan did not know what he would find next. But he knew one thing for sure: the farm was not just a property. It was a mystery. And he was now a part of it. Ethan returned to the city, but his mind stayed at the farm. He could not stop thinking about the hidden room and the diary. The words in the diary felt like someone was talking directly to him. He kept reading the sentences in his mind over and over. He wondered who had written them and why. He wondered if the person was still there. Back in his apartment, Ethan tried to focus on his work, but it was impossible. He kept thinking about the farm and the secret room. He looked at the photos again on his phone and studied every detail. He remembered the smell of the clean room and the way the light looked inside. It was strange. He had expected the basement to be dusty and dark, but the room had been bright and tidy. Someone had been living there and they had made it feel like home. Ethan tried to sleep, but he kept waking up. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the farm. He saw the fields, the old house, and the hidden door. He felt a strange pull toward the place. It was like something inside him was calling him back. He knew he had to go again. The next day, Ethan took a day off from work. He told his boss he needed time for personal matters. His boss looked surprised, but he agreed. Ethan packed a bag and drove back to the farm. This time he felt different. He felt more confident. He was not just visiting. He was returning to something important. When he arrived, the farm looked the same. The fields were quiet. The house stood in the middle like a memory. Ethan parked his car and walked toward the house. He noticed small details he had missed before. The old fence was broken in one place. There were tire marks in the dirt. Someone had been here recently. Ethan's heart beat faster. He walked closer to the barn and looked around. He did not see anyone, but the feeling of being watched returned. He told himself to stay calm. He was only imagining things. Still, he could not shake the feeling. He went inside the house and checked the rooms again. Everything was the same. The furniture was covered in sheets. The dust was still there. The air smelled like old wood. Ethan felt a little sad. The house looked lonely. It felt like it was waiting for someone. He went to the kitchen and opened the basement door. He walked down the stairs and opened the secret room door. The room was still clean. The bed was still made. The towel was still folded. It looked like no one had touched anything since he last saw it. Ethan felt a strange sense of calm. It was as if the room was welcoming him. He sat on the bed and looked around. He opened the diary again and read more pages. The writing was personal and honest. The person wrote about their feelings, their fears, and their hopes. The diary talked about wanting to be free. It talked about feeling trapped in a life that was not safe. It talked about finding the farm and feeling like it was a place to start again. Ethan felt his heart soften. He realized the person who wrote this diary was not just hiding. They were trying to survive. They were trying to find peace. Ethan felt a deep sense of respect for them. He wondered if he could help. As he read, he heard a faint sound. It was soft, like someone moving gently. Ethan froze. He held his breath. The sound came again. It was not loud, but it was real. It came from somewhere above. Ethan slowly stood up and looked toward the basement stairs. He listened carefully. The sound was coming from the house. Someone was inside. His mind raced. He wondered if he should call for help. He wondered if he should leave, but his curiosity was stronger. He climbed the stairs slowly, trying not to make noise. He reached the kitchen and looked around. The house was empty. He walked through the living room and listened. There was no sound now. He thought maybe he had imagined it. He walked toward the front door and opened it. The outside air felt cool. He stepped onto the porch and looked around. Everything was quiet. He began to think that maybe he had been mistaken. Just then he heard a voice. "Hello?" The voice was soft and careful. It sounded like someone who did not want to be noticed. Ethan turned quickly. His heart raced. He looked around, but he did not see anyone. He called out, "Hello, who's there?" The voice came again, this time from inside the house. "I'm here," the voice said. Ethan felt his throat go dry. He did not know what to do. He walked back inside and followed the voice. It led him to the living room. There, sitting on the floor behind an old armchair, was a woman. She looked up at him with wide eyes. She seemed surprised and scared. Ethan stopped and slowly raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to scare you. I didn't know anyone was here." The woman studied him for a moment. She looked tired and worn, but there was a quiet strength in her eyes. She was young, maybe in her late 20s. Her hair was tied back and her clothes were simple. She looked like someone who had been living a hard life. "I didn't think anyone would come back," she said softly. Ethan felt his heart soften. "I came back because I found your diary," he said. "I didn't know you were here." "I'm not here to hurt you." The woman's eyes narrowed slightly. She looked unsure. "Why are you here?" she asked. Ethan took a deep breath. He did not want to lie. He wanted to be honest. "I came because I saw this farm online. It was for sale for $1. I wanted to see it." "I didn't expect to find you." The woman's expression changed. She looked surprised. "You bought it?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "I haven't finished the paperwork yet, but I want to fix this place." The woman looked down at her hands. She seemed to be thinking. After a moment, she said, "My name is Mia." Ethan smiled gently. "I'm Ethan." Mia looked at him for a long moment. "You're the one who owns this farm now," she said. I didn't know it was being sold." Ethan felt a wave of guilt. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't know anyone was living here. I didn't mean to take your place." Mia shook her head. "No, it's not your fault," she said. "This farm was empty. It was abandoned. I found it when I was looking for a safe place. I didn't know anyone would come." Ethan felt a mix of emotions. He felt happy to meet her, but he also felt worried. He did not know why she was hiding. He did not know if she was safe. He did not know what to do. Mia stood up slowly. She looked at Ethan carefully. "I need to know something," she said. "Are you going to tell anyone I'm here?" Ethan shook his head. "No," he said. "I won't tell anyone, I promise." Mia studied his face. She seemed to decide whether to trust him. After a moment, she nodded slowly. "Okay," she said, "but you have to be careful. If someone finds out, it could be bad." Ethan nodded. "I understand," he said. "I'll be careful." Mia walked toward the kitchen. She looked around the room as if she was checking for something. She seemed nervous. Ethan watched her and felt a desire to help. He did not want her to be afraid. He asked gently, "How long have you been here?" Mia hesitated. "A few months," she said. "Maybe more." Ethan nodded. "Why are you hiding?" he asked. Mia looked at him and took a deep breath. She seemed to decide how much to share. "I had some problems," she said quietly. "I needed a place where no one could find me. I didn't have anywhere else to go." Ethan felt his heart ache. He did not want to push her, but he wanted to understand. "Are you safe now?" he asked. Mia looked away. She did not answer immediately. Finally, she said, "I think so, but I'm not sure." Ethan nodded slowly. He understood. He did not need to know everything. He only knew that she was scared and alone. He wanted to help, but he did not know how. Mia looked at him again. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. Ethan shook his head. "I'm here now," he said, "and I want to help if I can." Mia's eyes softened a little. She seemed surprised by his kindness. "Why would you help me?" she asked. Ethan smiled gently. "Because you're a person," he said. "Because you're human, and because I think this place can be better with both of us." Mia looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Okay," she said, "but you have to promise you won't tell anyone, and you have to promise you won't try to change me." Ethan nodded. "I promise," he said. "I won't tell anyone, and I won't try to change you. I'll just be here." Mia seemed to relax a little. She walked toward the secret room and opened the door. She looked inside and smiled slightly. "This is my home," she said quietly. "I made it here." Ethan looked at the room and felt a deep respect. He could see how carefully she had made it. He could see how she had tried to make a safe place for herself. He felt a strong desire to protect her. Mia sat down on the bed again. She looked tired. Ethan could see she needed rest. He asked, "Do you want food?" Mia nodded. "Yes," she said softly. Ethan walked to the kitchen and started to make a simple meal. He found some old cans of food in the pantry. He boiled water and made soup. He set the table and brought the food to the secret room. Mia ate slowly, as if she was not used to having food easily available. Ethan watched her and felt a strange connection. He felt like he was meeting someone important. He felt like his life had changed in a way he did not expect. After she finished eating, Mia looked at Ethan and said, "I don't know what to do now." Ethan sat beside her. He thought carefully. He did not want to rush her. He did not want to scare her. He said softly, "You don't have to decide now. We can take it one step at a time. If you want, you can stay here for a while. I can help you. We can work together." Mia looked at him and smiled slightly. "You're different from other people," she said. "Most people would just leave." Ethan nodded. "I didn't want to leave," he said. "I felt like I needed to know more. I felt like I needed to help." Mia looked down at her hands. She seemed to think about his words. After a moment, she said, "Okay, we can try." Ethan felt relief. He felt happy that she trusted him. He knew it would not be easy, but he was ready. He knew that this farm was not just a property anymore. It was a place where two people could start again. As the sun began to set, Ethan and Mia sat together in the secret room. The farm outside was quiet. The wind moved through the fields. The birds flew home. Ethan looked at Mia and felt a new sense of purpose. He knew his life was changing. He knew he was no longer alone. He did not know what the future would bring. But he knew one thing. He was not just buying a farm for $1. He was finding a new life, and he was meeting someone who needed help. The farm had become more than land. It had become a place of hope. Ethan woke up early the next morning. The sun was just rising, and the light looked soft and warm. The air smelled fresh, and the birds were singing. It was a beautiful morning, but Ethan felt nervous. He had a lot on his mind. He thought about Mia and the secret room. He thought about the promise he had made to keep her safe. He wondered what would happen next. He walked outside and looked at the farm. The fields looked calm and peaceful. The house stood quietly, like it had been waiting for someone to return. Ethan felt a strange sense of responsibility. He had come here to escape his old life, but now he realized he had a new purpose. He needed to help Mia and protect her. He went back inside and prepared breakfast. He found some old eggs in the kitchen. They were not fresh, but they looked okay. He cooked them carefully and made toast. He also found some fruit in a bowl. It was not much, but it was enough for two people. He carried the food to the secret room. Mia was still asleep when he arrived. He looked at her and felt a strange warmth in his heart. She looked peaceful, and for a moment Ethan forgot all his worries. He set the food on the table and waited. After a while, Mia opened her eyes and sat up slowly. "Good morning," Ethan said softly. Mia looked around, surprised. She had forgotten where she was for a moment. Then she saw Ethan and smiled weakly. "Good morning," she replied. Ethan sat down and offered her the food. Mia ate slowly. She looked tired, like she had not slept well. Ethan noticed the dark circles under her eyes. He wondered how long she had been living like this. He wondered how many nights she had spent alone. After breakfast, Ethan and Mia talked quietly. Ethan asked her how she felt. Mia said she felt okay, but she was still scared. She told Ethan that she had lived in the hidden room for months and she had never had visitors. She had been careful to stay hidden. She had been afraid of being found. Ethan listened carefully. He did not interrupt. He wanted her to feel safe. He wanted her to know she could trust him. He asked her if she had any family. Mia shook her head. She said she had no one to turn to. She had left everything behind. She had wanted to disappear. Ethan felt his heart ache. He could not imagine being alone in the world. He wondered how she had survived. He asked her how she had found the farm. Mia looked at him and took a deep breath. "I was driving," she said. "I was lost. I was tired. I saw this place and thought it was empty. I needed somewhere to hide. I didn't think anyone would find me." Ethan nodded. "And you stayed," he said. Mia nodded. "Yes," she replied. "I stayed because I felt safe. I felt like I could breathe here. I didn't have to worry about people watching me." Ethan looked at her and felt a strong desire to help. He asked, "Do you want to leave? Do you want to find a new place?" Mia thought for a moment. She looked down at her hands. She seemed unsure. After a while, she said, "I don't know. I want to be free, but I don't know if I can trust anyone. I don't know if I can start over." Ethan nodded slowly. He understood. Starting over was not easy. It was scary. It required courage. He did not want to rush her. He wanted to give her time. He said, "We can take it slowly. You don't have to decide now. You can stay here for a while. We can work together. We can make the farm better." Mia looked at him and smiled slightly. "You really want to help me," she said. Ethan nodded. "Yes," he replied. "I want to help you, and I want to fix this place. I want to make it a home." Mia looked at the farm through the small window. She seemed to think about his words. After a moment, she said, "I can help you. I know how to cook. I know how to clean. I know how to make things look nice. I can help you fix the farm." Ethan smiled. "That would be great," he said. "We can work together." Mia looked at him and said, "But you have to promise me something." Ethan nodded. "What is it?" Mia looked down. She looked shy. "Don't tell me what to do," she said. "I want to make my own choices. I want to be free." Ethan nodded. "I understand," he said. "I will not tell you what to do. I will only support you." Mia smiled. She looked a little more relaxed. Ethan felt happy. He felt like they were becoming a team. He felt like the farm was becoming a place of hope. They spent the day working around the farm. Ethan showed Mia how to clean the old windows. Mia showed Ethan how to organize the kitchen. They laughed together as they worked. The farm felt alive again. The old house felt less lonely. Ethan felt a sense of joy he had not felt in a long time. As the day went on, Ethan noticed something else. He noticed that Mia was careful. She did not open the front door. She did not leave the house. She stayed inside as if she was afraid. Ethan understood. She was still scared. He did not want to push her. He wanted to give her time. That evening, Ethan built a small fire outside. He sat on a wooden log and looked at the stars. The sky was clear. The stars looked bright. He felt a sense of peace. He thought about his old life and how different it was now. He thought about the city and how loud it was. He thought about how quiet the farm was. He felt grateful. Mia joined him after a while. She sat beside him quietly. She did not speak at first. She looked at the fire and then at the stars. Ethan could tell she was thinking. After a while, she said softly, "I haven't seen the stars like this in a long time." Ethan smiled. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" he said. Mia nodded. "It feels like a different world," she said. "It feels like I'm not being watched." Ethan nodded. "You're safe here," he said. Mia looked at him. "Are you sure?" she asked. Ethan looked into her eyes and said, "Yes, I'm sure. I will do everything I can to keep you safe." Mia looked away. She seemed to be fighting back tears. She whispered, "Thank you." Ethan felt his heart warm. He wanted to hug her, but he didn't want to make her uncomfortable. He simply sat beside her, offering his presence. After a while, they went back inside. Mia prepared a small dinner. They ate quietly. The house felt calm. Ethan felt like this was the first time he had felt truly alive in a long time. After dinner, Mia went to the secret room. Ethan followed her. He wanted to make sure she was okay. He wanted to make sure she felt safe. Mia looked at him and smiled. "You don't have to stay here," she said. "You can go back to your life." Ethan shook his head. "I don't want to go back," he said. "I want to stay here. I want to build a new life." Mia looked surprised. "Really?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "Yes," he said. "I want to fix this place. I want to make it a home, and I want to help you." Mia looked at him for a moment. She seemed to think. Then she said, "I'm not used to people being kind. I'm not used to people staying." Ethan smiled gently. "You deserve kindness," he said. "And you deserve to have someone stay." Mia looked down. She seemed shy. She said softly, "Thank you." Ethan sat beside her and looked around the room. He noticed something he had not seen before. There was a small photo on the table. It was old and faded. It showed a young girl smiling. She looked happy. Ethan picked up the photo and showed it to Mia. Mia's eyes widened. She looked surprised. She reached out and took the photo. She held it gently like it was something precious. She looked at it for a long time. "That's me," she said quietly. Ethan nodded. "You look happy in this photo," he said. Mia nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "I was happy once, before everything happened." Ethan felt a wave of sadness. He did not know what had happened to her, but he could see she had been through a lot. He wanted to help her find her happiness again. He wanted to help her remember who she was. He put the photo back down carefully. He did not want to push her. He wanted to give her space. Mia looked at him and said, "You're not like the others. You're not afraid of me." Ethan smiled. "I'm not afraid," he said, "and I'm not going to leave." Mia nodded slowly. She looked at the room and then at Ethan. "Okay," she said. "We will try, but we will take it slow." Ethan nodded. "Yes," he said. "Slow is good." They sat in the room for a while, listening to the quiet. Ethan felt a strong sense of hope. He felt like this farm was becoming a new beginning for both of them. He did not know what the future would bring, but he knew he was not alone anymore. The next morning, Ethan woke up feeling more determined. He knew the farm needed more work. He knew they needed to plan. He knew Mia needed help and support. He also knew they needed to be careful. The world outside was not always kind, but for now they had each other. They had the farm. They had hope. And that was enough to keep them going. Ethan woke up early again, as he had been doing for the past few days. The morning air was cold, but the sun was rising and the light looked beautiful over the fields. He felt more awake than he had in a long time. He had a sense of purpose now. He knew he was not just living on a farm, he was building a new life. He looked forward to each day, even though the work was hard. He went outside and walked through the field. The grass was tall and the weeds were thick. Ethan knew it would take time to clean the land. He also knew he needed tools and supplies. He looked at the old barn and thought about what he could do with it. He imagined repairing it and using it for storage. He imagined planting vegetables and growing food. He imagined the farm becoming alive again. He went back inside and found Mia in the kitchen. She was preparing breakfast. She looked calm, but Ethan could see the tiredness in her eyes. She had been living in hiding for a long time, and he knew she still felt nervous. Ethan wanted to help her feel safe. "Good morning," he said. Mia smiled softly. "Good morning," she replied. Ethan sat down at the table. He watched her as she worked. He noticed the small things she did. She was careful and precise. She moved quietly, like she did not want to be noticed. Ethan understood. He knew she was still afraid. He wanted to help her feel more confident. After breakfast, Ethan suggested they start working on the farm. Mia looked at him and nodded. She agreed. She wanted to help, but she also wanted to be careful. Ethan respected that. He did not want to push her too hard. They went outside and began cleaning the yard. They pulled weeds, picked up old trash, and cleared the area around the house. The work was hard, but they worked together. They laughed sometimes, and they shared small stories. Ethan learned that Mia had a quiet sense of humor. She could make him smile even when he was tired. As they worked, Ethan noticed something strange. There were footprints in the dirt. They were fresh. He looked closer and saw that they led toward the barn. Ethan's heart began to race. He felt a sudden worry. Someone had been here recently. He did not want to alarm Mia, but he also did not want to ignore it. He decided to be careful. He walked toward the barn and looked inside. The barn was dark, but he could see that someone had moved some of the old boxes. There were signs that someone had been using the barn as a shelter. Ethan felt a mix of emotions. He was worried for Mia, but he also felt angry. He did not want anyone to hurt her. He went back to the house and told Mia what he had found. Mia listened quietly. She looked worried, but she did not show fear. She seemed to be thinking. "We should be careful," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "Yes," he said, "but we can handle it. We just need to be smart." Mia looked at him. "What if it's someone who wants to hurt me?" she asked. Ethan shook his head. "I don't think so," he said. "But we should still be careful. We can lock the doors. We can keep the secret room safe. We can make sure we are prepared." Mia nodded slowly. She seemed to trust him. Ethan felt a strong sense of responsibility. He knew he had to protect her, but he also knew he could not control everything. He could only do his best. They decided to check the barn more carefully. They walked together toward it. Ethan brought a flashlight. Mia held a small tool in her hand, like she was ready to defend herself if needed. Ethan felt proud of her. He could see she was becoming stronger. They entered the barn. The air inside was cool and dusty. Ethan shined the flashlight around. The barn was large, with old wooden beams and broken windows. The floor was covered in hay and dirt. Ethan walked slowly, careful not to step on anything sharp. They reached the back of the barn. Ethan saw the footprints again. They were deeper here. It looked like someone had been sitting or resting. Ethan felt his heart race. He looked around carefully. Then he saw something that surprised him. There was a small bag lying on the floor. It looked like it had been left there recently. Ethan picked it up and opened it. Inside, there were a few simple items: a water bottle, a piece of cloth, and a small notebook. Ethan looked at the notebook. He opened it and read a few lines. The writing was messy, like someone had written quickly. The notebook talked about being hungry and tired. It talked about needing a place to sleep. It sounded like someone who was struggling. Ethan felt a wave of sadness. He realized that someone else might be living nearby. Someone else might be struggling. He wondered if this person was dangerous or just someone who needed help. Mia looked at Ethan and said, "Maybe it's someone who is homeless." Ethan nodded. "Maybe," he said, "but we need to be careful. We don't know who it is." They decided to leave the barn and go back to the house. They locked the doors and talked about what to do next. Ethan suggested they make a plan. Mia agreed. They decided to set up a small system of safety. Ethan would check the barn each day. Mia would stay in the house when he was out. They would keep the secret room locked. They would also be careful about who they trusted. Mia seemed to feel a little better after they made the plan. She looked more confident. Ethan felt happy. He knew that she was becoming stronger. He knew that the farm was helping her heal. That night, Ethan sat outside again. He looked at the stars. Mia joined him after a while. She sat beside him quietly. Ethan could tell she was thinking. "I'm scared," Mia said softly. Ethan turned to her. "It's okay to be scared," he said. "You don't have to hide your feelings." Mia nodded. "I know," she said, "but I don't want to be scared forever. I want to be brave." Ethan smiled gently. "You are brave," he said. "You've already done so much. You've survived. You've come this far." Mia looked at him. She seemed to think about his words. After a moment, she said, "I want to go outside tomorrow." Ethan was surprised. "Really?" he asked. Mia nodded. "Yes," she said. "I want to see the world. I want to feel the sun on my face. I want to know I can go outside without being afraid." Ethan felt his heart fill with hope. He nodded. "We will do it," he said. "We will go outside tomorrow." The next day, Ethan woke up early and prepared a simple breakfast. He and Mia ate quietly. Then they got ready. Ethan told Mia to wear comfortable clothes. He told her to take a small bag with water and snacks. Mia looked nervous, but she nodded. She took a deep breath and followed Ethan outside. The air felt warm. The sun was shining. The world looked bright. They walked slowly toward the field. Mia looked around carefully. She seemed to be noticing everything. She looked at the trees, the sky, the grass. She looked like she was seeing the world for the first time. Ethan walked beside her, keeping a close eye on her. He wanted her to feel safe. He wanted her to know she was not alone. They walked for a while, and Mia began to smile. She looked happier. She looked like she was breathing more easily. Ethan felt a warm feeling inside. He was happy to see her enjoying the world. They reached a small stream near the edge of the farm. The water was clear and calm. Mia sat down on a rock and looked at the water. She looked peaceful. Ethan sat beside her. They watched the water together. Mia turned to Ethan and said, "This is beautiful." Ethan nodded. "It is," he said, "and it's yours too. You can enjoy it." Mia smiled. She looked at him and said, "Thank you." Ethan felt a deep sense of happiness. He knew they were making progress. He knew that the farm was becoming a place of healing. He knew that Mia was becoming stronger. But Ethan also knew that they could not stay hidden forever. He knew that they needed to think about the future. He knew that they needed to find a way for Mia to feel safe without hiding. He knew that they needed to make a plan. That night, they sat together and talked about the future. They talked about the farm, about the work they needed to do, and about what Mia wanted. Mia said she wanted to find a job. She said she wanted to be independent. She said she wanted to feel like she belonged somewhere. Ethan listened carefully. He felt proud of her. He felt like she was becoming the person she used to be. He promised her he would help. He promised her he would support her. Mia looked at him and smiled. "You're a good person," she said. Ethan smiled back. "So are you," he said. They sat quietly for a while. The farm was calm. The stars were bright. Ethan felt a sense of peace. He felt like they were on the right path. But he also knew that life was not always easy. He knew that challenges would come. He knew that they needed to be ready. He knew that they needed to stay strong. Ethan looked at Mia and thought about how far she had come. He thought about the secret room and the diary. He thought about how the farm had changed their lives. He felt grateful. He felt hopeful. The next day, they continued their work. They cleaned the barn, repaired the fence, and cleared more of the field. They worked hard, but they worked together. They laughed and talked. They shared small moments of joy. Ethan knew that the farm was becoming more than just land. It was becoming a home. It was becoming a place of hope. And he knew that they were not alone anymore. The morning was quiet, almost peaceful, but Ethan felt a sense of anticipation. He had woken up before sunrise again, a habit that had become natural over the last few days. The farm felt alive now, with small movements in the fields and the distant songs of birds greeting the day. He could see Mia moving around in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. She seemed calmer now, more confident in herself, though a trace of nervousness lingered in her eyes. Ethan smiled softly to himself. He had been worried at first, worried about her safety, worried about the strange footprints, worried about whether they could really start over. But seeing her here in this small, modest house on a farm filled him with hope. The farm was no longer just a piece of land he had purchased for $1. It had become a place of second chances, a place where lives could be rebuilt. "Good morning," Ethan said softly as he walked into the kitchen. Mia looked up and smiled. "Good morning," she replied. "I made eggs and toast." Ethan sat at the table, grateful for the warmth and the simple comfort of the moment. "It smells good," he said. They ate quietly, the silence filled with a peaceful kind of companionship. Both of them were thinking about the day ahead, about the work that needed to be done, but also about the small steps they were taking toward a new life. After breakfast, they decided to check the barn one more time. Ethan knew they needed to be cautious, but he also wanted Mia to feel less afraid. The barn was quieter today. They stepped carefully over the hay and old wooden boards, looking at the areas where the footprints had been the day before. Ethan inspected the barn from top to bottom. He found nothing new, no signs of anyone else, but he remained vigilant. Mia stayed close, her hands gripping a small cloth she kept with her as a kind of comfort. "We should still be careful," she said softly, looking up at him. Ethan nodded. "Yes, but we'll be okay, we'll keep each other safe." Mia smiled faintly. She felt more confident now, and Ethan could see the change. She wasn't as fearful as she had been when he first found her. The secret room had given her safety, and their shared work on the farm had given her courage. He felt proud of her. The rest of the morning was spent fixing the fence around the farm. They found old wooden planks and nailed them together. It was hard work, and their hands got scraped and dirty, but it was satisfying work. By the time the sun was high in the sky, they had repaired most of the broken sections, and the farm looked more protected. They laughed together at little mistakes, planks that were too short or nails that bent, but those moments of shared laughter were becoming common. During a break, Mia sat on a large rock near the barn, catching her breath. Ethan handed her a bottle of water. She accepted it with a small smile. "You know," she said, "I never thought I would feel safe again, not like this, not in a long time." Ethan nodded. "I know," he said gently. "I can see how hard it must have been for you, but you're not alone anymore. We're in this together." Mia looked at him, her eyes shining with a mixture of gratitude and relief. "Thank you," she whispered. Ethan shook his head. "No thanks needed," he said. "I just want to see you happy. I want to see both of us building something good here." For the next few hours, they continued their work, planting seeds in the small garden, clearing the remaining debris from the yard, and organizing the tools in the barn. The sun was hot, and the air smelled of fresh earth and flowers. It was a perfect day for beginning again. By evening, the farm looked cleaner, safer, and more alive. As the sun began to set, Ethan and Mia sat outside, resting on a wooden bench they had fixed together. The sky was painted with pinks and oranges, and the farm felt magical in the fading light. They talked quietly about small dreams, the vegetables they wanted to grow, the kind of house they could repair, the ways they could make the farm truly theirs. "I never imagined life could be like this," Mia said softly. "I thought I would always be scared. I thought I would always be alone." Ethan took her hand gently, careful not to startle her. "You're not alone anymore," he said, "and we'll make sure you never feel that way again." Mia looked at him, her eyes glistening. She squeezed his hand. I think I can believe that," she said. The evening grew darker and the first stars appeared in the sky. They sat in silence, listening to the quiet sounds of the farm, the wind through the trees, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl. Ethan realized how much he had changed, too. The city, the stress, the endless noise, none of that mattered anymore. The farm, with its challenges and simple joys, had taught him something important. Life could be hard, yes, but it could also be beautiful and meaningful if you were willing to care for it and for the people in it. Night came, and they returned inside. Mia went to her secret room, and Ethan stayed in the main house, planning the next steps for the farm. He thought about the work they would do together, the repairs, the planting, and the improvements. He also thought about how he could help Mia feel more comfortable going out into the world. She had started small, and he knew patience would be necessary. Over the next few days, Ethan and Mia continued their routines. They woke early, worked on the farm, shared meals, and spent evenings outside or inside quietly, talking and planning. Each day, Mia seemed stronger. She even started leaving the secret room to spend more time in the main house. She laughed more often, and her cautious expressions were slowly replaced with a quiet confidence. One morning, Ethan suggested they take a small walk outside the property. "Just a little way," he said. "We don't have to go far." Mia hesitated. "What if someone sees me?" she asked. Ethan smiled gently. I'll be with you, he said, and we'll be careful you won't be alone. After a moment of thought, Mia nodded. She trusted him now and she wanted to try. Together, they walked beyond the fields. The fresh air felt wonderful. Mia looked around at the trees, the distant hills, and the clear blue sky. For the first time in a long time, she felt free. They reached a small clearing where the sunlight fell gently on the grass. Mia took a deep breath. This feels amazing, she said. I didn't know I could feel like this. Ethan nodded. You deserve to feel this way, he said, and you will. We'll take it one step at a time. They spent the morning exploring a little, finding wildflowers and small birds, listening to the sounds of nature. It was simple, but it was perfect. Mia's laughter began to sound lighter and more natural. Ethan felt his heart swell with happiness. He realized that this farm, which had seemed like an ordinary piece of land, had become a sanctuary, a place where lives could be healed and hope could grow. Over the next few weeks, they continued to work on the farm and on themselves. Ethan repaired the old barn, planted vegetables and flowers, and cleaned the main house. Mia learned how to cook simple meals, mend clothes, and care for the garden. They shared small joys, like watching a butterfly land on a flower or seeing the first sprouts of their plants. Ethan also helped Mia feel safer in the outside world. They practiced small steps, walking a little further from the farm, learning to feel confident outside, and understanding that the world could be kind, not just scary. Slowly, Mia began to believe in herself again. One evening, they sat together on the porch, watching the sunset. Ethan looked at Mia and said softly, "You've come a long way. I'm proud of you." Mia looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude and emotion. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said. "You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Ethan shook his head. "No," he said. "We did it together, and we'll keep doing it together. This farm is ours now, not just the land, but the life we're building." Mia smiled. She felt hope in her heart, a hope she hadn't felt in years. The farm, the work, the trust, and the shared moments had healed her in ways she couldn't explain. She knew there would still be challenges, but she also knew she was no longer alone. As night fell, they looked up at the stars. The farm was quiet, peaceful, and full of possibilities. Ethan realized that this journey, which had begun with a $1 farm, had become something far greater. It was not just a story about land or money. It was a story about trust, hope, healing, and the courage to start again. For the first time in a long time, both Ethan and Mia felt at home, and they knew that together they could face whatever the future held. The farm, once abandoned and empty, was now alive with life, laughter, and hope. It had become a sanctuary, a place where two people could heal, grow, and dream again. And as they looked at the stars above, they knew that this was only the beginning of their new story. A story of courage, friendship, and the magic of new beginnings.